it's this European company selling America to Americans. They do still have their North America division located in Auburn Hills, Michigan. So at least the Chargers were built by Americans employed in the Motor City. Right? Nope. Every single Dodge Challenger ever made was actually built 229 miles north of Auburn Hills at the manufacturing plant in Brampton, Ontario, Canada. All right, so today I want to talk about how brands use advertising, copywriting, imagery, colors, logos, fonts, and even packaging to tell what's known as their brand story. They hope that that brand story will get you to buy their products, and the best brands tell authentic stories, while the worst brands just straight up lie to take your money. Most brands fall somewhere in the middle, highlighting certain parts of the story that they think will get you to buy, while maybe conveniently leaving out other parts of the story that might be contradictory. And the more you understand how brands use these stories to manipulate you, the more you'll start to realize that everything is marketing. And anytime I'm talking about this concept, one of my favorite brand stories to reference is from Jeep. Almost every piece of marketing they put out shows people driving Jeeps across rugged terrain, climbing dirt trails, and going off-roading. And they do this because Jeep doesn't sell cars, they sell freedom. And they sell that freedom to Americans who don't follow the rules, people who take the road less traveled, the one that's not paved. They sell their cars to people who want to go anywhere and do anything. And it works. Jeep sold like 85,000 Wranglers in 2023. But how many of those Jeep owners actually take their cars off-roading? Well, according to Mark Allen, who's Jeep's head of design, it's only about 10 to 15%. So if Jeep knows that their customers aren't hardcore off-roaders, why don't they just change their story to appeal to all the soccer moms and regular people that do buy their Jeeps? Well, they don't, because their story is that they're an aspirational brand. You see, Jeep buyers aspire to be in that off-roader tribe. So they buy the Jeep and the promise of the freedom that goes along with it. But as long as the 10% of buyers continue to push their Jeeps to the limits, they'll continue to drive the other 90% to aspire to do the same. And Jeeps are actually some of the most capable off-road vehicles you can buy. That part of the story is true, and that's why the story actually works. But another part of the Jeep story is that Jeep is actually owned by a company called Stellantis, which is a multinational corporation headquartered in Amsterdam, and it was formed by the merger of the Italian company Fiat and the French PSA group. So at the end of the day, Jeep owners are actually being sold the story of American adventure by a bunch of Euros who probably ride bikes to work. Bicycle. And another American car company, which is also owned by Stellantis, is Dodge. And they've been pushing the whole American muscle car heritage story for the last 15 years or so. And they made one of my favorite commercials ever. It's the one where George Washington leads the charge against the British in his badass Dodge Challenger, forcing the Redcoats to retreat from the battlefield. And the commercial ends with George, I cannot tell a lie, Washington, proudly standing next to his Challenger, the American flag waving out the window, with the narrator saying,
"Here are a couple things America got right. Cars and freedom."
Amazing. But what's even more amazing is how they aired this commercial for the first time in 2010 during the US versus England World Cup soccer match. America! Fuck yeah! So again, it's this European company selling America to Americans. Now, to be fair to Stellantis, they do still have their North America division located in Auburn Hills, Michigan. So at least the Chargers were built by Americans employed in the Motor City. Right? Nope. Every single Dodge Challenger ever made was actually built 229 miles north of Auburn Hills at the manufacturing plant in Brampton, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, sweet irony!
Now, I don't want to take anything away from the ad wizards that came up with that commercial. It's an all-time great, one of my favorites, and I'm sure it helped make the Dodge Challenger one of the most popular cars of the last decade or so. I'm just simply highlighting the part of the story that we've been told versus the parts of the story they've conveniently left out. These stories that they tell get us to buy into this idea that I'm one of them. Or in the case of Jeep, maybe it's I want to be one of them. But really, how many of these people that are buying into this American Pride car story would keep buying if they knew the whole story? I'll bet the average Jeep or Dodge owner thinks that their car is as American as apple pie. Well, they'd kind of be right, considering apple pie originated in England. Okay, one more car example, and that's Subaru. Sorry, I like cars, and car companies do a lot of advertising. So Subaru is a car company whose story is all about good vibes. Their marketing is almost exclusively built on the imagery of happy, good-hearted people doing good deeds. In their ads, people are cleaning up beaches, saving animals, recycling,
Yada, yada, yada.
dogs. And Subaru owners love their Subarus. They're very consistently ranked at near the top or the top of most customer satisfaction surveys for car brands year after year. In fact, their most famous and successful marketing campaign is
Love. It's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
And over the last 16 years, their annual Share the Love event has donated over $285 million for charity, which lines up pretty perfectly with the whole Love Fest. But another thing they're not really highlighting during beach cleanups is the fact that Subaru is also one of the leading manufacturers of the Apache attack helicopter for the Japanese military, meaning Subaru also makes some of the most advanced weapons of war known to man.
Get the hell out of there, Omar.
So I guess war is also what makes Subaru, Subaru. Also, have you ever noticed how some brands appeal to us simply by being the alternative choice to a more popular brand? And this has always been really interesting to me because people tend to gravitate to these alternative brands almost as a reaction to how passionate other people are for the more popular, more hyped brand in whatever category. And you might know some of these people. They're the type of people who love to talk about their favorite unknown musician, but then immediately turn on them and call them a sellout when they get too popular.
You fucking sell out. Everyone says.
People love a good underdog brand that takes on the big guys, but they really only exist because of the more popular brand. And you see this happen in almost all product categories. Usually the alternative choice brand has a few unique features and a lower price point, which then helps add to the story of the other guys being overhyped. Every Coke has a Pepsi, and for every iPhone user, there's an Android user who just hates Apple fanboys. And for every Yeti cooler buyer, there's an extremely vocal Arctic cooler buyer who can't wait to tell you how much cheaper their cooler was than your Yeti while doing just as good a job keeping things cold. And for every Los Angeles Lakers fan, there's a Los Angeles Clippers fan. I'm convinced there actually aren't any real Clippers fans. They just call themselves fans because they hate the Lakers so much that they need a team to root for to beat the Lakers. And brands know how this works. They're happy to build the second choice alternative brand squarely aimed at the customers who hate the popular brand. And these alt brand consumers tend to think of themselves as immune to marketing because they believe that they've chosen to support the brand outside of the hype. But ironically, this anti-brand consumer is just another target demo that brands actively market to. It's just another tribe of like-minded people following a story carefully crafted by marketers. And marketing usually boils down to getting people to say to themselves, people like me buy things like this. But in this case, it's actually more like, people like me don't buy things like that. And as these stories have evolved over the years, there's been a very noticeable trend in marketing that I personally think is absolutely insidious. And it's this idea that brands have human emotions and consciousness, and they're your friend, they're responsible, they care about something other than just selling products. And to be clear, I'm not saying that all brands that do this are just completely full of shit. I think there are actually people behind the brands that genuinely want to do good in the world. But most of it that you see, it's just another manipulation tactic. Because now, if you take anything away from this video, this is the most important thing to remember. Companies exist to make money, and their marketing departments exist to tell a story to get you to give them your money.
Message!
Sure, that story can be authentic and responsible or charitable, while getting you to buy their stuff. But if that story stops working, the company will change the story until they find one that does start making them money. And the best example of this in recent memory is the whole Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney thing. So for a quick backstory refresher, in 2023, Bud Light partnered with transgendered TikTok star Dylan Mulvaney to help promote a social media contest. And Bud Light sent Mulvaney a custom beer can with her face on it and the message saying, "Cheers to 365 days of being a woman," to help celebrate her transition milestone. And once the news of this got out, it completely enraged their core, mostly conservative customer base, which led to an all-out boycott that went absolutely viral, as Bud Light just became the scapegoat for all of woke progressive culture. And thousands of people took to social media making spiteful posts, pouring out their Bud Lights, lighting Bud Light merchandise on fire, even leading to one American badass blasting his Bud Light cans with his AR-15. Now, the whole debacle pushed Bud Light out of the #1 best-selling beer spot in America as it suffered a 30% decline in sales, costing Anheuser-Busch's stock to lose over $27 billion in market cap. Now, regardless of where your beliefs and politics may lie, what matters most for the sake of this video is to study how Bud Light handled the whole fallout from this thing. Now, I know this is a nuclear topic for a lot of people, so I just want to go through the facts. Bud Light created a marketing campaign which implied that the transgendered movement was an important part of the Bud Light brand story. Then a whole bunch of people stopped drinking Bud Light because of this campaign. Then Bud Light lost the top spot in US beer sales. Bud Light then laid off a bunch of marketing executives and other people that were involved in the campaign. Bud Light then went on a spending spree with multiple sports-themed campaigns, which culminated in an over $175 million deal to become the official beer partner of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So, does Bud Light still care about the transgendered community? Did they change their mind about the transgendered community? Did they feel like sponsoring the Ultimate Fighting Championship was a good logical next step to show their continued support for the transgendered community? No, it's all bullshit because Bud Light is a company and companies don't care, think, or feel. Companies exist to make money.
Message!
And if a company even was capable of human emotions and did care about the trans community, they would have stuck to their guns no matter what it cost. But they didn't, because companies exist to make money. They crafted a brand story. The story didn't work, so they changed the story.
Message!
So I know this is starting to get a little cynical, and I'm sorry, but unfortunately, when you've worked as long as I have as a marketer and you've seen how the sausage is made, you tend to build up a pretty healthy dose of cynicism. Anyway, I hope you got a few things from this that'll help you start to understand that all the storytelling, all the feels, all the misdirection, the half-truths, the alternative choices, the social responsibility, it's all to get you to buy something and join a tribe. Speaking of which, don't forget to like, subscribe, and sign up for my email newsletter to be the first to know when my new line of merch drops.